And just like that, we are on law number 18. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys because I'm going to be candid. I did not want to film today. Didn't want to do it. I have been in like a funk today. I don't know. I woke up and I was just like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to start the day. I had a blaring, like a migraine, like a headache that was right here in this lobe circling around. And I was like, I don't think my caffeine is out of control. I've been having issues acclimating to my sleep schedule. So I was like, maybe it's just sleep deprivation. But I even on my notes on my phone, because I had this as a planned goal for today to film this lecture, I deleted it. I was like, well, we're going to postpone this to tomorrow, take a day. And then I remembered a quote from Michael Jordan. And he said, if you quit once, it becomes a habit. And I thought about that, and I thought about the excuses that I was making, the rationalization, the justification, and then slowly but surely I was sort of negotiating with myself why it's okay to forfeit today. And then I said, I spoke out my thoughts, and I spoke out like what I thought was bothering me, what is on my mind, things that are, just thoughts, and wrestling with them and untangling them. And then I had a conversation with myself and with God, and then I felt a peace over me, and then I just said, we might be okay. So that being said, I made today as my refeed day. So my refeed day is usually Saturday on this prep that I'm doing. But I was like, you know what? I went to the grocery store today and I'm replacing my beef with tuna, but what do you call it? Walmart didn't have tuna today at the Walmart that I went to. But I bought all of my carb sources that I was going to eat for tomorrow. And I said, you know what? I'm going to treat myself today. And I had my refeed day today. So I had some strawberries, I had some protein pancakes, and I had a ton of pretzels. I don't know if you've ever had those cheddar gold, those rolled gold cheddar. But I had a ton of those, and then later on I'll have mashed potatoes. And so I said, we can turn this day around, all right? So, and I really like this because at least this way we're documenting the whole deal, the whole gambit, as we get through these laws. So with that, we are on law number 18. And there was one thing that I didn't say from the last law that I had it as a written note, and it would be doing the world a disservice if I didn't share it. So the last law, to quickly recap, we talked about keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. And I told you in the preface of that lecture, I was going to bring up Viktor Frankl, who's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. Because he talks about in this book, the hardest thing of this Austrian surviving 4 Nazi concentration camps wasn't, how do I word this? The worst of the atrocities wasn't the worst of his experience. So it wasn't the cannibalism, it wasn't the murder, it wasn't the, rape, it wasn't any of the horrific things witnessed, observed, spoken about, experienced. It wasn't taking a train and then people having to sit and, piss and shit. He said the worst of his experience, whether that was in Auschwitz or any of the other concentration camps, was being in a state of unlimited uncertainty, not knowing when or if you were going to be liberated ever. And that is the exact state that I have been residing in, working in the rat life. When you understand from the book Meditations that I'm going to keep bringing this up because this changed my entire perspective on how I'm sort of going about life, where everything that you're going through is your requirement, is required as a part of your nature's design, as a part of your highest good, your highest potential, whatever circumstance, condition, however small, however seemingly significant, it's all benefiting you. And that's the belief I want you guys to begin watering. This is serving me in some way. And there's a quote that keeps recurring to me from God: don't lean on your own understanding. As in, we can only see what we can see and what we can conceptualize. We can't see 10 years from now. We can't foresee this person who I'm going to run into, or this circumstance lining up, or the strength and stress tolerance that I'll need for this situation, and why I needed to develop that skill here, right? So what we perceive as failure and letdown and disappointment, no, preparation for the gift to come, right? So The most excruciating mental state that I've been in while I was working in the rat life, in my 9 to 5, in my office job, was not knowing when this life of slavery was ever going to end. And you're going in there every day, you're showing up correct, you're just like, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna keep showing up, I'm gonna keep showing up until, you know what I'm saying, until my liberation, until God says my assignment here is done. And that was the most excruciating thing, because you have nothing to lean on except faith. You know what I'm saying? And in an interview with Andrew Tate, he said the same thing. He said, being in a Romanian dungeon of a prison cell, the worst wasn't the conditions. It wasn't knowing if this was going to be the next month or the next 10 years. And you're just in this perpetual limbo, this purgatory. So I wanted to touch on that, because I did not omit it, because I wrote it in like a camouflaged color for a line that I just glanced at quite quickly. And so the title of that law was Keep Others in Suspended Terror, Cultivate an Air of Unpredictability. It is a terrifying place to be in when you don't know how long your miserable sentence is going to last. But the recurring conversation that I had with God every day on my little walks during my breaks was, I know this is an assignment, and I know this is just my required assignment, and so I will do my required assignment until you see fit that my assignment is over. Do you know what I'm saying? And what I learned, and what I'm learning in reflection, I thought it was me needing to still be there because of how many people that I was helping, healing, reaching, transforming. But through every person that I got through, excuse me, I had pretzels and chocolate chip pancakes and strawberries like we discussed. For every person that I had healed and that I had spiritually liberated, enlightened, touched, right? I got something out of all of it. So when I was having the conversation for the first time, that sort of sparked the retaliation from my serpent superior. It was a mirror about me not letting go, because all I saw in the conversation was this person's refusal to let go. When I called them out on all of their abuse and all of their gaslighting and all their manipulation and all of their treachery, and they just would refuse to let go. They'd refuse to let go. And I remember I did a drive to Laguna Beach that day because I needed to take a day. And it put me in tears on the drive back, and I literally told myself, it was like a mantra, and I said, let go, sweetheart, just let go, just let go, just let go. What are you afraid of? And my response to myself or to God was that if I let go, that's me giving up. And I had to sort of learn that lesson that letting go, surrendering, is not giving up. It's not giving up control. It's surrendering to the current, to the flow of your life, of your highest good, right? But we have this insatiable conviction that in order for me to get whatever it is that I want, it has to be in this sequence, in this order, in this fashion. When I say this, this person has to respond this way. We see very, very linearly. And what I've learned is it's quite insulting to God. It's quite insulting to the universe, who could bring you exactly what you wanted in a million different ways, right? But we're so hell-bent that, the only way I can get this is in this time frame, in this order, by this day. And you get humbled, right? And you forfeit magic when God can bring this about in a million different ways, but you're too arrogant to let go. And the reason that I know that to be true is because I would experience that when I would coach people. So when I would see a person who was so fucking arrogant and set in their ways and brand new to training, brand new to the gym, their first week, their first month, and I'd been 10 plus years, my only thought was like, pretend I know more than you. Like, just fucking humor me for one day. And the arrogance masks the insecurity. So the ones who had the courage to let go, to just quit their resistance, and then to allow me to mentor them, to coach them, to lead them, got overnight results. You know what I'm saying? By you just listening. It requires humility for you to let go, for you to say that maybe there's a different way. And so what I've learned is it's not so much about forfeiting what it is that you want, because I've made that very clear to God, whether that's the woman I want, the life I want, the freedom I want, whatever. But letting go of how and when. And so if we can do that, then rather than being in a state of suspended terror, we'll be in a very peaceful state. Rather than waiting on God, we'll be waiting with him. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I just wanted to make sure that I brought that in because I know I forfeited or omitted that in the last lecture. And I think that's so important because anybody watching this, I'm sure you can resonate with the pain and agony that is in the waiting. You know what I'm saying? That is waiting on the promise, waiting on your life, waiting for the misery that you're going through right now to finally reach breakthrough. And the waiting is more excruciating typically, at least in my experience, than the actual condition, than the actual circumstance, than the actual abuse. It's just not knowing how long the sentence is. Because if I knew that I only had one more day to deal with this, I'd be going in with a smile on my face. The abuse, the manipulation attempt, the garbage, the projection, no problem. If I knew that, oh my God, one day I'm the fuck out of here, I'd be showing up to work every day, biggest smile on my face, knowing that I am peace out Girl Scout, is that the phrase, in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And then people would be like, why is he so happy in this? And I can attest that personally because that's exactly the abundant mindset and state that I lived in when I worked at Target while I was an undergrad at UCLA. I was hired as a seasonal employee and I knew I'd be quitting to focus on graduation my senior year. And so I had all of my like management and, you know, the senior supervisors like completely sold that I was just the biggest raving fan of Target because, hey, how are you? Amazing, excellent, fantastic. When I knew that in 2 weeks I was leaving forever. And that's, which is another law as well, where you sort of say less than you know, play the fool to fool the fool, all of the above. But I don't want to get on a tangent, but the reason that I had that air was certainty. You know what I'm saying? I knew when I was going to be leaving, and I knew that this was that means to an end. So it's a lot easier said than done, rather than when you don't know when you're going to get liberated. And so that's so much hell. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good preface for this lecture, so we'll get into it. So number 18, the 18th law of the 48 laws of power. And I love how we're breaking these down one at a time, because when I first read this book, I read like half of it, and you can't retain anything. If you just read all of these laws all at the same time, there's no retention, there's no reflection, there's no consideration, there's no how has this applied to my life, how have I learned from this? Because unless you break these down one by one and actually disseminate them, then you can't see situations in your life where you're either being manipulated or where you could have utilized these tools to combat attempted manipulation on you. So I love that we're going through these one by one and we're just breaking them down, because that way we're all equipped to combat these serpent snakes who presume to enter our gardens. And we stand guardway at the doorway of our mind. We're very perspicacious. And so therefore we're a feared enemy in any realm of human endeavor, right? Because our unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability, meaning we never quit, we never give up, makes us a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. It doesn't matter if we're doing a university, reading this literature, working the rat life, doing a fitness transformation, doesn't matter, right? If they can do something, why can't I? If this motherfucker can attempt manipulation on me and try to make me their, puppet, their slave, their courtier, I can stand guard and say, like Edmond Dantes from that quote, "Life is a storm, my young friend. You will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered on the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when that storm comes. You must look in that storm and shout, do your worst." And that's what we tell these serpents, for I will do mine. Here we go. Number 18, do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. On that exact same story that I was sharing with you when I, went to Laguna Beach after this fucking 2-hour altercation with my serpent superior, and then it brought me to tears driving back because of the, basically coaching myself to let go, let go, let go. I opened up YouTube because I wanted to listen to something. By no coincidence, there was like an hour-long Bible audio, and I said, "Okay, God." And so, I listened to it, and there were 3 important takeaways from that audio while I was listening for the stage of my life that I was on that drive on that day. It said, number 1, be present, be present, be present, be present. Number 2, practice gratitude. When Tony Robbins talks about how to change your state. You cannot be angry and grateful simultaneously. You cannot be fearful and grateful simultaneously. So if you are able to achieve this state, you forfeit these. You forfeit anger and you forfeit fear by being in a state of gratitude. So in meditations that I do every single day, not the book meditations, my actual priming exercise that I do from Tony Robbins. If you YouTube, I could link it in this video, but if you YouTube Tony Robbins guided no ad, it's a 14-minute video that you change your physiology, then you change your focus, then you embody the feeling of gratitude, and then you send that love out, and then you focus and fixate on 3 goals that you want to achieve in the next week, month, year. And it's an incredible exercise. I do it every day, and I reach very deeper and deeper levels of peace, of consciousness, of awareness, of self-reflection, of like when I say peak level of gratitude, the past couple weeks I've been feeling the sensation, and this could be the reason for the headaches that I'm getting, the same depth as if I took mushrooms, as if I'm consuming psilocybin, and the come down that you get as a result of that, the fucking blaring migraines from that garbage still being in your body. I don't know if that's the reason for my headaches right now that I'm getting, these migraines, if I'm just experiencing this divine high, and then as a consequence I have to have those come downs, those lows. It's all new, uncharted territory, but if you continue to meditate every day and practice, just like you go to the gym and you train a muscle, but you're practicing gratitude, you'll be able to get into that state quicker. Joe Dispenza teaches us that it's nothing to be able to be in a state of peace and calm and serenity when you're at home by yourself meditating for 15 minutes to an hour. He said anyone can do that. True emotional control is being able to go back into that state after circumstance, condition, event, or person interrupts your serenity. So in your day-to-day, some asshole cuts you off on the freeway, your boss is riding you, and you're just having, Murphy's Law, all these, pests and weeds and parasites come attack you. How quickly can you go back to, neutral? How quickly can you go back to peace, tranquility, serenity? He said that's mastery. So by doing the priming, doing the meditation exercise, you'll be able to get back to that emotional state like a trained muscle, right? So a lot of people, they have emotional homes of anger, of bitterness, of resentment, of spite, of fear, of lack. You can make yours gratitude and therefore forfeit anger, forfeit fear. Okay, so the third thing in that video, so it was gratitude, present, be present. The third thing it said is don't isolate, don't isolate, don't isolate. And I'll say a quote and then, actually no, I'll just get into it. So in my journey, right, especially because I've been on video, I've been on camera, I do vlogs, I've updated my whole life online since I had a phone. So since 2015, I was posting videos for Snapchat, and then Instagram came and I would post, things on Instagram. And then I had YouTube back in like 2016, 17, 18. And so I'd post videos on YouTube. And then now only getting, more consistent with it with this cause, right? But every time that I would be in my sort of winter season, I would completely isolate. I would completely take care of myself, get myself together. I would cut off everything and everyone, and then just go into this season of isolation as I endured incredible pain, loneliness, despair, heartache, like the works, to then, take care of myself, recover, persevere. And then when I was ready, then I would, go back on stage, so to speak, online, on social media, and the like. And I have notes for, there's pros and cons to it, but this law is going to talk about the power play behind the detriments to isolation. And in that audio that came across my YouTube when I was doing that drive from Laguna Beach that day, telling me don't isolate. When you put yourself into sort of segregation from the collective, right? In the book Meditations, they talk about detaching yourself, ungrafting yourself from the branch of life. So think of the collective consciousness, all people, right, as a tree, and you're one of the branches. Okay, so you're part of the whole. You're part of the whole. And at any time, you can detach yourself at any time. And then in the book he talks about, and at any time you can graft yourself back on. And he said, but the branch that grafts itself off and on and off and on, it's not the same as the one that's been there through winter, through season after season for, centuries. It's quite similar. So people who are on social media who constantly show the highs and the lows, there's a different level of trust with those people than the ones who, exit and then come back. But in my personal experience, I haven't seen any other person on the same par of growth that don't do that don't take that, 3 months to 6 months of, monk mode, where you're just fucking putting your head down, you're clearing all of the distractions, and you're getting to work, right? Whatever that craft is, whether that's a physical transformation, whether that's a business that you're starting, whether that's your academics that you're completing. I've never seen the same end goal results by mixing with all of the distractions that social media provides. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's just from my personal experience. So I think there are pros and cons, and this is the thing that I put in my notes, that I would have to literally tell myself after I would get off work, and I would either have like an upset either with a chick or with work or with my roommate that used to be living here, and I said to myself, I just want to be alone. I just want to be alone. I want everyone to fuck off. I just want to be by myself. And it came from a place of, I don't know if it was like a fear of it, like an abandonment, or I want to articulate it well. I don't think it was as much as that, as much as when I'm by myself, I'm in a complete environment of support, of yes, of encouragement, of acceptance. And I've had so much experience by being around motherfuckers who make me feel hard to love, who make me feel uncomfortable in my own skin, who make me feel unconfident being myself. And when I'm forced to be in the vicinity of these motherfuckers, I'm just like, it makes me so angry and it makes me so irate. I'm just like, I just want all these motherfuckers to get the fuck out of my life so that I can be at peace, so I can be happy, so I can be looking in the mirror, ecstatic and smiling and be so, loving within my own company than being around all of these motherfucking weeds. And so I've learned in my journey that I love solitude. You know what I'm saying? I love being by myself because I would rather be alone in an environment that is solely, yes, encouragement, support. That's a great idea. How can I support you? How can we bring this to life? You're incredible. Compliments, words of affirmation, versus being around people that I've learned are just so riddled with fucking fear. And I hate that. It's so insulting to my intelligence when I'll be around people who are just so goddamn afraid to let go, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to express their fears and their flaws. And they're so fucking insecure with themselves that they put on this mask and they put on this front and they feel the need to emotionally project. And I'm just, in my development, I'm so over it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I hate being around it. I hate tolerating it or being forced to tolerate it, especially at the workplace. It makes me feel like such a hypocrite, and because I have so much perspective from so much experience, whether that's traveling or just having conversations with people, I literally hate being around cowardice, because I've seen the most badass people who have the courage to be honest, and the courage to let go, and the courage to put their walls down, and the courage to say that they don't have it all together, that they're still trying to figure it out. I fucking love and admire those people more than anything else. And so when I'm forced to listen to the fucking victim narrative of someone, of woe is me, my life is so hard, when I've trained cancer patients, when I've had people lose family members or have lost limbs, or just who have gone through actual fucking struggle, actual hardship, actual adversity, and yet still manage to show up, smile on their face. They say depression is bullshit. They keep going and persevering. It's just like, I'm in that process of just trying to, and I know this is kind of a tangent, but just trying to attract that tribe of, people who hate the bullshit, hate the front, hate the facade. It's so exhausting to listen to it and to humor it from other people, but simply just to be around it, just to be around fake all day. Do you know what I'm saying? At a certain point, it's just, you get over the masquerade. You know what I'm saying? You just want to be surrounded by people who have courage to let go. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, to be vulnerable. So that's why I have isolated, because I'm constantly, whether that's work, whether that's friendships, whether that's surroundings, constantly met with these emotionally unhealed, insecure, afraid, just shitty people, particularly with work, just shitty people who are just such a poison in my garden. So I'm just like, I just want to be myself. I just want to be myself. I just want to be by myself. But as I've had that recurring, voice encouraging me to isolate in this past season, I refused to. I said, we're gonna show it. We're gonna show it all. We're gonna document this. We're gonna post on my social media what's going on with work. The letters of warning, the attempted manipulation to get me fired, the investigation, even though I can't talk about it or details of it, but that is being presented to me, this persecution. I'm just like, I'm gonna, be open. I'm gonna document it. I'm gonna be honest with it. And what I find is you can only have the people who love you for you as long as you present yourself. As in, if you don't show you, then you will never find the people who like you for you. Does that make sense? As in, I've been loved by people for the version of me I had to pretend to be. And when I talked about life unfolding in the last lecture, just recently I posted something on my Instagram, and then a person removed me as a follower and then unfollowed me. And I was happy about that, because I said, fantastic. I'm very glad to be unliked, unloved for being myself, than liked for pretending to be somebody who I'm not. So I think that's the importance of showing yourself and being your authentic you, because unless you do that, you'll never find your tribe. You'll never find your people. You'll never find the people who like and love you for you, right? So the life that you want is on the other side of being seen. Being seen for all your flaws, all of your shortcomings, all of your vulnerabilities, insecurities. And most of those things are just in your head, because everybody's weird. Everybody's fucking weird, man. Everyone, if you got to see them who they are behind closed doors, cameras off, dude, everyone is a fucking weird squirrel. You know what I'm saying? They're all trolls. We all talk about the same shit. We're all trying to figure this out one day at a time. We're all winging it. Even though the ones who've, are leading the path, we're all just trying to find our path, And I know the path that I'm aligning with this whole quest of rat life, which is just personal development. That's what the whole university is, man. The best literature ever written on personal development. That's why we're doing the Robert Greene books. That's why we bring up emperors from antiquity of Marcus Aurelius. That's why, we're going to the gym every day. That's why we're focusing on our financial literacy. That's why we're focusing on our spiritual enlightenment. I want to get better. I want to finish the video game of life. And when I look at the man that I could have become, right, my maximum potential at times then, I want to be looking into a mirror, not the man I could have been had I had the courage to pursue, which is the whole mantra of rat life. Anybody can escape. Anyone can live free, right? It starts with belief and the courage to pursue, right? The courage to do the reading, to show up on the days you don't want to, like today filming this, to go to the gym when you don't feel like it, when you're not motivated, right? When you don't want to be seen, you know what I'm saying? The courage to be honest, to be our authentic self, right? In a world that, particularly with AI, dude, is going to get perpetually more fake, people are going to crave authenticity, right? Because that's all we really want. We just want to see the real fucking you so that we can resonate with them. Do you know what I'm saying? Where we can talk with someone and have a real conversation. And that's what I love about this university, this garden that I'm building. It's just about healing. It's just about being honest. Who you are, where you are, what you want. So, because if you're not fucking honest, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror, put your cards down, right? Play your hand, then how are we going to get you to where you want to go? Okay? If you can't even look at your situation honestly for what it is, right? So, to continue. I don't want to be skipping over my notes. I actually have notes for this law. Here we go. Quote. But I hope any of that makes sense. And I hope you take something away from that. Retreat. my contacts are so dry. Retreat into a fortress and you lose contact with the sources of your power. So now we're tying it into power. Never enclose yourself so far from the streets that you cannot hear what is happening around you, including the plots against you. I can literally attest to this law of imperfection, right? That I was sitting at my cubicle and I could hear the conspirings of my serpent snake and her pet. I could literally hear them fucking pitching and catching of how they were gonna bring me to my demise. And that is when I enacted the quote, say less than you know, right? But the Napoleon Bonaparte, or that was the law, speak less than necessary. Excuse me, from this book. But the Napoleon Bonaparte quote, never interrupt your enemies while they're making a mistake. And that's the mind fuck, is when you're in the rat life surrounded by that level of stupidity, that level of obliviousness, that level of fucking arrogance. And those are the retarded individuals that you're surrounded by on a daily basis. And it's just defeating when those are the people earning 2-3 times your salary. Those are the leaders, the most immature, childish, manipulative fucking pussies. And so it's very important, this law, because it's completely true that if you aren't present, right? If you aren't perspicacious, if you're not aware, then the snakes in the grass will scheme and plot to the detriment of someone. But something that this doesn't include is what happens when chosen one, a child of God, is wearing God's armor. As in conversations that I was privy to, I was placed at that time by God to hear this conversation. I could have been, turning in a paper or scanning something, or going to the bathroom or whatever. But no, God was like, no, I want you here, and I want you to hear this. And then I was able to use that, to glean that information, and then use it beneficially towards my own fight, kind of a deal. So important to not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous, but what that omits is the protection that you get from God when you're on the path. You know what I'm saying? When you're aligning with truth and not treachery, and not being a weasel rat. You know what I'm saying? And you're being a good person. I know it's crazy, the world that we live in today, just to be honest and to be kind and considerate and loving. And if you're a leader, you're a role model for the person that's your direct report. You're not a snake, weasel, rat, serpent, viper. Crazy, but a lot of things that comes with personal development is common sense and just basic etiquette. So if it sounds remedial, it's because I learned this from Jim Rohn. New knowledge isn't necessarily learning something new. It's learning to behave in a way that we haven't previously behaved before. So a lot of people who could improve, who could grow, who could become far better versions of themselves, all it would take is them not being the rat that they've been. You know what I'm saying? But those same people who operate in the shadows and cowardice and satanic practices, they lack the courage to look at themselves in the mirror, right? To step into the arena. So they have to be a coward. They have to, work collectively to the detriment and gossip and demise of other people. But those people are just, bro, their souls are forfeit. You know what I'm saying? Gone. And all it is the reflection, the mirror of their fear and their insecurity and their cowardice. So all you gotta do is stand in the light. But that's the reason for isolation being dangerous. Otherwise you wouldn't have been privy to such good intel. Okay. Detaching yourself from the tree, meditations we talked about. I put my development, and then I put word from God. That was in the drive from Laguna Beach. Presence, gratitude, don't isolate for those reasons. And for this next quote, I said this, I said, I just want to be alone. And I put the why behind it. I shared that with you guys. The reason I wanted to be alone is because I wanted to, for just a day, to not be around people who made me uncomfortable in my own skin, unconfident, being myself, hard to love, who don't afford me compliments or encouragement or support or the word yes or anything, or who don't have the courage to be honest, to let go, to be candid, like to have those real, transparent, walls down conversations, who are looking to improve themselves, to get better, to heal. It's just, I hate being around arrogance, and I hate being around people who don't have a fucking shred of humility, who are just, they're so set in their ways, they lack any fluidity, any rigidity to learn, you know what I'm saying? To improve, to grow, to comprehend the fucking idea that maybe you don't have all the answers, maybe there's another solution. It's just, that's how I'm able to have empathy with God. Because if I have that much animosity towards people that are practicing arrogance, how does he feel when we're so set in our ways, right? That of something, of a dream that you have, that he could bring about in a million ways. Imagine the patience you have to have, while you're watching our arrogant asses fight and resist the current, the flow. You know what I'm saying? Our nature's design. What's happening in our day-to-day life, however seemingly insignificant, towards our highest good. You know what I'm saying? It's the whole stop leaning on your own understanding. And that's something that I have to constantly remind myself, because what helps me navigate through my journey is just simply understanding. That's why I disseminate the literature. That's why I reflect on it. That's why I do these lectures. It's like I want to make sense of it for myself. So when I work on improving myself, I want to make sure that I understand it, because if I don't understand it, I can't teach it. I can't articulate it. But unless I'm able to sort of break it down, little bite-sized pieces for me to understand, that's the only way that I can help and I can share and I can, the whole collective can improve and grow. But if I don't know what the fuck's going on, then, what's the deal? But it's a process, right? So when God tells me just relax, be calm, seek him first, and then I think that I haven't read the Bible yet, I need to, but everything that you are going through will make sense upon a day, right? We're just incredibly impatient. Next, this is very important in terms of isolation. I learned this from Simon Sinek. He said, when you isolate yourself, when you're going through hard times, you rob the people in your life the joy of sitting in the mud with you. Very, very important. So I saw a quote on Instagram just the other day. It said, I think it's unfair that we laugh together, but you cry in private. And I love that so much. One of my favorite things ever is helping people who want to help themselves. Is having those 4-hour-long conversations of somebody who's going through a breakup, or is on the verge of tears, or they need that one little thing that is gonna plant that seed for them to really, really heal and transform and break through. That's my favorite thing in this entire life. I love that so much. And what I learned is, what I'm doing is I'm sitting in the mud with them, right? They're at their lowest low. They're on the verge of tears, if not flooding, in them. And they open up to me, completely vulnerable, walls down, enacting courage, which is my favorite thing. I have robbed people time and time again of that same joy. I would do this with a Brazilian girl who I used to be close with, that every time she would check in on me, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? I would always say I'm fine. I would always say I'm amazing. I would always say this when it was complete bullshit. But I did it for a couple of reasons. The first one was I believe in a very positive, optimistic mindset. So as you think, so you are, book 1, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And so I wouldn't even entertain the possibility that I wasn't amazing, that I wasn't stoked, that I wasn't happy. And it was to the point where you're kind of kidding yourself, but by practicing living in that state, you do it for solution seeking. So I'm able to find solutions faster when I'm in a positive mindset, when I'm harboring a positive mindset. But when you're just, depressed, woe is me, pity party, a lot of people, they'll live in that state of being the victim for a very, very extended period of time. So I purposefully rob myself of that delay, right? So when circumstance condition arises, I'm immediately, how is this happening for me, right? How is this happening for my greatest good, for my highest potential? How can I alchemize and transmute this terrible, right, that we project a negative connotation on life circumstances, this terrible condition, this terrible event? How can I utilize this fuel? Things like anger, things like depression, things like heartbreak. It's infinite fuel to get you to where you want to go. So you say, I want this life. God says, no problem. Let me fucking crush the shit out of you. Let me wreck you. Because then you have unlimited fuel and fire in the tank to, boom, break through. But we don't view it as that. We view it as, typically, this is negative, this is happening to me. So that was my justification. That was the reason that I never did it. However, what I didn't know, that I learned in reflection from Simon Sinek, what was I doing to that Brazilian girl? What was I doing to other people in my life who, would check in on me, hey, how are you doing? I would rob them of the same joy that I would be experiencing when people would come to me in their super lows. Because people love helping people who want to help themselves. You know what I'm saying? But that was just part of the journey of my own development, right? Is being in that vulnerable, that state of letting go, of not being that solid rock. And it's something that I've had to really learn and navigate with, particularly with women, because I think as the man, you have to be that rock. You really do. Like, I know this from experience with dealing with women, that the more a man is seen, emotional and crying and in tears around a woman or a woman that he's dating, at a subconscious level, the woman will lose respect for the guy. Even if a woman says, she likes a guy who's, emotionally open and vulnerable. And while that's true with words, they don't look to them as that rock, as that resolve, if that's your commonplace emotional state. So they slowly but surely over time will lose respect for you, because it's for them looking for the guy, for them to crash their emotional waves on over and over and over, and to know that you're solid as fuck, right? So I would I dabble, you know what I'm saying? Like I like to be open, and I like to be honest, and I like to be emotionally vulnerable. I've posted videos of me tearing on social media, on Instagram, and throughout my entire journey, because I believe in the transparency of the whole game. But that's the crossroads where I constantly find myself, is just vulnerability, but also leadership, right? And being that beacon of light and of strength for others. So, but again, to tie it all in, what you do is you rob others of the joy of sitting in the mud with you. So that was a lesson that I had to learn. And it's awesome because this is what it does. You actually strengthen the relationship. So the reason relationships lasted for my grandparents, married for 62 years. People don't go through things together, they grow through them together. And in today's world, we all pretend like we all have it together, and we don't show the bad. We don't show the antithesis of the highlight reel, right? We don't show when we're drowning in debt, when we're living in the car, when we're fucking broke, when we're alone and single and heartbroken. And men don't do it a lot of the times because, number one, nobody cares. Number two, because they don't want to elicit pity or sympathy. And number three, we know that complaining about it isn't going to solve the problem. Excuse me. However, when you're down, when you're out, when you're not in a good place, you'll come to learn that so many people would be so happy to help you, to be that ear for you, to give you a helping hand, but they just didn't know that you weren't good. And I've had that in my life, where people just assumed that I was completely straight, not my sexual orientation, had it all together, had no worries in the world, when I was just at death's door in the sense of mental despair. But that's the deal. I learned that from my friend Amanda from the UK, where after I got back from my Euro trip, I met her in Croatia, and she would message me and give me like a life update on her life. And I was like, no one's ever done that. That's weird. But what I didn't know is, if somebody isn't updating on your life, you have no idea what's going on in their life other than what they present on social media, which could be nothing to do with the real thing. And which isn't the real thing whatsoever, because when you actually message people who are, posting the selfies and they're happy, perceivingly, perceptively, I don't know the word, you go and reach out to them and they're miserable. I had this with a coworker, Eli, awesome guy. It's just a normal day, but he was sick one of the days, or he was out sick, and I teased him about it. Oh, what are you doing, taking a day off? He's like, yeah, I was at a funeral, and I just felt like such a dick. But then I consoled and, gave, sat in the mud with him, to long story short. But that's the thing, is that quote from Robin Williams: everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about, at any given time. So men are the ones who never talk about the battles that they're going through. And yeah, so moral of the story, in regards to not isolating, You rob others, I'm going to keep saying it until it's hammered home, the joy of sitting in the mud with you. Moving on. The importance of achieving isolation, removal from toxic environments and the result. So that's one of the positives of isolation. So me being in banishment from work right now has to be the most healing thing ever, because I am away from all of the toxicity, and everybody at my work, fat as fuck. They eat like garbage all day. They're surrounded by treats and sugar and donuts and just trash. So when you have all of this garbage on your body, it's going to affect the kind of person that you are. So I'm surrounded by lazy, and I'm surrounded by sloth, and I'm surrounded by lack of discipline. And this isn't me fat shaming anybody. This is me just being around people who are perceived professionals when in reality they stand as the antithesis of it. And not only are they all physically completely out of shape, but then their deep-seated hatred with themselves and how they look is projected emotionally. And so you're dealing with these people who are projecting their insecurities on you, who hate themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's the most toxic environment because, and this is a good lesson to learn with women, I learned from Jordan Peterson, men can impose their will physically. Women don't impose their will physically, so they do it verbally. So women will impose their will by innuendo, sexual innuendo, gossip, rumor, and verbal manipulation. And that's how women can get guys to do something, or can get a woman's reputation tarnished, the like. That isn't, that exists in the rat life. That's not removed from the rat life, from the 9 to 5. So you have these serpent leaders who do gossip and who do spread rumors and do these innuendos and do this, and I can't share it because it's part of the investigation, but the level of desperation these people go to tarnish your good reputation is, later on in my sort of reveal all, I'll be able to share it, what my serpent tried to do with a letter that I had written to someone. It's just pathetic. But that's the importance of isolating, is was able to get the fuck out of that toxic environment where you're surrounded by bullies and insecure and just stupid and arrogant and unhealthy, physically unhealthy, spiritually unhealthy, emotionally unhealthy, just horrific poison, dude, into your garden. And what do you think is the consequence of this? Okay, is you're filled with so much misery and so much despair and so much anger and so much resentment and so much hate and bitterness. How do you think that's affecting your mindset about the project that you want to develop and create, the business that you want to start, the relationship that you want to water, the physique that you're trying to chisel, right? When you're surrounded by all of this garbage, when you know that, quote, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. People spend more time with the people that they work with than their own family. You know what I'm saying? You're with them 40 hours a fucking week, right? If not more. With that hour-long lunch break, you're with them for like 50 hours a week, dude. 45, 50. And what's going to be the negative consequence when that environment is complete toxicity, complete negativity, horrific individuals who, when you actually distill it down, they're just cowards and they're riddled with fear. Which is what a coward is. But that's all it is. The people who are the worst and the most mean and spiteful and bitter, and they do these schemes and manipulations and, coercions, when they do these, deceptive collaborations, they're just the biggest pussies ever. And they're the most insecure. And it's all sheer cowardice, and they're the antithesis of leaders. So we talk about the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. You just can't take it personally, right? Can't take it personally. But that's the reversal of this law. The benefit to isolation is healing, right? Is you being able to fill your cup again. Dude, I'm meditating every day. I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to be incorporating cardio. My diet, other than today's pretzel, refeed day, which isn't really negative because I'm trying to replenish the glycogen that I lost from a week of being in a caloric deficit. So it has its purposes, is stellar. My diet is very, very clean, very healthy. I have not missed a single day with my supplementation. We're so regimented. I'm posting more content than I've ever posted before. I'm reading more daily than I've ever read before. There's only perpetual benefits in this form of isolation from removing yourself from a horrifically toxic environment. that makes sense. To finish, taking a break from social media, highly would recommend. So this isn't what I'm doing now, right? Obviously, because we have this quest and we have this assignment, so we're getting these laws underway and completed. But other than my good and faithful students who are watching these lovely lectures and videos, and you're watering your mental garden, because all these videos are just nourishment for healing, for self-reflection, for collective growth, because that's all we're trying to do. We're all trying to pursue freedom on this quest together, right? I would highly recommend, though, taking a detox from social media, whether that's deleting the app of TikTok, deleting Instagram, not watching YouTube Shorts, stop scrolling, just taking a hiatus, whether that's for a day, whether that's for a week, whether that's for 3 months. I've had to do it when I needed to post to get likes, and then there was a problem with my need for validation from others, and so that was something that I had to correct. I've had to delete it when I couldn't stop scrolling, and so I needed to correct that. I had to do it when I was just, like I said, posting when I wanted someone to message me or to reach out to me, and so removing yourself from that. And when you scroll, you're flooded with dopamine, instant gratification. Every scroll, you're getting a small micro hit of dopamine, to where when you go back into your normal day, you can't even appreciate something. You don't even feel good with daily pleasures because you're so numb to it. So a nice breeze on your face, the warmth of the sun's, what are those rays called when it's, your face is all sun-kissed? Beams, when the sun rays beam on you, you can't even feel genuine appreciation or joy from that because your dopamine receptors are so exhausted, so that's a really good gift you can give yourself. Is it all comes back to the healing process. So you're removing all of this garbage, even just for a short time, taking a break from it to come back and actually feel joy, gratitude, appreciation for little things and little pleasures in life. And we've gone so far astray from that with social media, man. It's ruined relationships, it's ruined people's self-image, it's ruined people's sense of gratitude and appreciation for little things, and it's really corrupted people's mindset by being in a perpetual comparison. You know what I'm saying? Comparison trap. Seeing everybody who's fit and everybody who's happy and everyone who has 1 million followers and everyone who's driving a Lamborghini and everyone who has that, dream, a significant other spouse. And you're just like, well, I don't look like that. Well, I don't have that relationship. Well, I don't have those finances. Well, I don't have that freedom. And it's just, you are constantly in a state of distraction from your own journey and your own path by being so, drunk and intoxicated on somebody else's path, somebody else's chapter, that you're not even there writing your own fucking story. So with that, pretty good salvage of the day. I'm so glad that we did this, man. I sound like Rogers. I'm so glad that you came here today. I forget his name. Was it Steve Rogers? No, that's Captain America. Mr. Rogers. The guy that was with children. No, not like that. All right. This was law number 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. And with that, which is rat life, anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. That is rat life, and we are all gonna make it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.